Ayo Med Decoder.
Welcome to Med Decode.
Okay, so I have to make a confession. I looked at my screen time report this morning.
Oh, no.
And it was bad. I mean, really bad. The kind of bad where you think, maybe I should just, throw my phone in a lake.
I think we've all been there.
It just gives you this anxiety, right? Especially if you're a parent. You're constantly wondering, is my brain actually rotting from this? Sometimes I really feel like I'm scrolling until I'm dumb.
It is that universal modern fear, isn't it? That creeping feeling. But, before you sacrifice your phone to the tech gods, we should talk.
Okay.
Because the whole all screens are evil narrative.
Yeah.
Well, it might just be a massive oversimplification.
Please tell me there's a loophole. Can I keep my cat videos?
We're about to find out. Today, we're diving into a brand new paper just published in Pediatrics Open Science.
Ooh, what's it called?
It's Digital Media, Genetics, and Risk for ADHD Symptoms in Children. It's by a team led by Dr. Samson Nivens and Dr. Torkel Klingberg, and they use data from the ABCD study.
The ABCD study, that's the big one, right? The Adolescent Brain Cognitive Development Study.
That's the one. It's the largest long-term study of child brain development in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about 8,324 kids.
Wait, 8,000?
8,324, tracked for 4 years with neuroimaging, genetics, the works.
Wow, that's a huge sample size. That's like the population of a small town.
Exactly. And that scale is what lets us finally tackle that age-old question, the real chicken or the egg problem.
You mean, does digital media cause ADHD symptoms?
Or do kids who already have those tendencies just, naturally gravitate towards screens?
That is the million-dollar question. Because of course I love TikTok if my brain is already all over the place. But did TikTok make it that way? How do you even start to untangle that?
Well, they started by breaking digital media into 3 distinct suspects, because not all screens are the same.
Okay, what are they?
Suspect 1, social media. So Instagram, TikTok, texting, all that stuff. Suspect 2, video games, console, PC, you name it. And suspect 3, passive viewing. So TV, movies, YouTube videos.
All right, I'm placing my bets now. All my money is on video games. It has to be video games.
The classic villain.
Every grandma says it. Playing games makes you hyperactive, right? All the flashing lights and noise. It's got to be the one.
It's a very logical assumption. You see a kid getting hyped up playing a game, and you connect the dots.
Yeah.
But you'd lose that bet.
What?
The study found absolutely no association between playing video games and an increase in ADHD symptoms over time.
No association. Zero. Come on.
In fact, and this is the really wild part, gaming was associated with a slight decrease in hyperactivity and impulsivity.
For real. So playing games is actually character building. I don't believe it. There has to be a reason.
Well, think about the mental mechanics of it. To be good at a video game, what do you need?
Focus.
Sustained attention. You have to hold a goal in your mind, navigate obstacles, stay in that flow state. If you get distracted for even a few seconds in a fast-paced game, what happens?
You're dead. Game over.
Exactly. The game gives you immediate negative feedback for a lapse in attention. So, in a way, it's actually training your brain to maintain focus on one thing for a long time.
That actually makes a weird amount of sense. When I'm locked into a game, I'm not thinking about anything else. So what about the other one, TV?
Also in the clear, passive viewing showed no link either. It might not be helping your brain, but it doesn't seem to be actively hurting your attention span.
So if gaming and TV are innocent, that only leaves one suspect standing.
And that's where the hammer drops. The real villain in this story, according to the data, is social media.
So the culprits are IG and TikTok.
The data was really specific. Social media was the only category linked to an increase in ADHD symptoms. And even more specifically, it was an increase in inattention.
Inattention, so not hyperactivity.
Correct. It didn't make kids more hyperactive, but it did seem to make it harder for them to focus.
Okay, so why? Why is scrolling Instagram worse for your brain than playing Call of Duty?
It all comes down to something called switching costs. Social media is built on a model of constant interruption.
The notifications.
The pings, the infinite scroll. You look at a post for 3 seconds, swipe. A text pops up, you switch. You see a new video, swipe. You're constantly jumping from one thing to another.
You are literally describing my evenings. Just mindless scrolling.
And every time you do that, you're training your brain. You're teaching it to seek novelty over depth. In a game, the reward comes from sustained effort. On social media, the reward is the next new thing. Boredom becomes a signal to switch, not to focus harder.
That's terrifying. We're not just distracted, we are practicing being distracted. We're getting good at not being able to focus.
And that brings us back to the causality question. The researchers had to prove the social media came first.
Right. Because otherwise you could just say distracted kids prefer social media.
Exactly. But since they followed these kids from age 9 to 13, they could see the timeline. And they found that high social media use at ages 9 and 10.
Let me guess. It predicted more attention problems later.
It predicted future inattention problems at age 11 and 12.
Yeah.
Yes. But, and this is the crucial part,
Okay.
having inattention problems at age 9 did not predict using more social media later.
Wow. So it's a one-way street. It's one-way damage. Social media makes kids distracted, not the other way around.
The arrow of causality points in one direction, from the screen to the symptom.
Okay. That's huge. But what about genetics? You know, some people are just naturally more focused. If I come from a family with good focus, are my kids safe? You know, if I'm not dumb, scrolling should be fine.
Yeah, a fantastic question. And they looked at that. They calculated what they call a polygenic risk score for ADHD.
Well, Polly, what now?
Basically, they looked at all the kids' DNA to figure out their genetic predisposition for ADHD. Some had a high genetic risk, some had a low one.
So if my kid has a low risk, do they have, like, a genetic shield against TikTok?
You would hope so,
Mm-hmm.
but no. The genes definitely predicted who was more likely to have ADHD symptoms to begin with. But genetics did not change the effect of social media. The damage to their attention span was the same whether they had high-risk or low-risk genes.
So it's an equal opportunity brain destroyer.
Your DNA won't save you from the algorithm. It seems to override your genetic baseline.
That is just depressing. Okay, but let's talk about the size of this effect. How worried should I actually be? Is this a tiny blip or a full-blown crisis?
So we have to be really honest about the stats here. The effect size is technically considered small. The beta value is 0.15.
Wait, 0.15? That sounds like nothing. Why are we even so nervous then? Is this just a rounding error?
For one single person, it might feel like a small change. But this is where you have to think about the whole population. There's this idea called the Rose prevention paradox.
Okay, explain.
Imagine a bell curve of attention span for all kids. Most are in the middle. Kids with an ADHD diagnosis are way out on one end, in the tail.
Right.
A small effect like this shifts the entire curve just a little bit to the left.
So everyone gets a tiny bit more distracted. Big deal.
For the average person, maybe not a big deal. But when you shift the whole curve, that tail in the end gets much, much bigger.
Oh, I see.
The number of kids who cross the line from a bit distracted into a clinical diagnosis goes way up. The researchers calculated that this small shift could lead to a 35% increase in the number of children who qualify for an ADHD diagnosis.
35%. Okay, that sounds serious now. That is not a rounding error. That's a public health problem.
It really is. And it sort of explains why we're seeing diagnoses rise so much, from around 9.5% in 2003 to over 11% now. It's an environmental shift. We've introduced this toxin for attention into everyone's lives.
And the ages you mentioned, they started at 9 and 10 years old.
Which is a critical time for brain development.
Scrolling at 9. I thought you had to be 13 to even get an account. Isn't that the rule?
It is the rule. But in this study, kids at 9 and 10 were already using it. And by age 13, it had ramped up to an average of 2.5 hours a day.
2.5 hours. That's a part-time job.
And that's just the self-reported number. It could be higher. We're essentially giving this tool that we know degrades focus to kids whose brains are still trying to learn how to focus.
It feels like giving a cigarette to the developing brain. So what do? Do I have to smash the iPad and move my family to a cabin in the woods?
No need to go off the grid. The biggest takeaway here is differentiation. We have to stop lumping everything into screen time.
They need to categorize.
Exactly. If your kid is playing Minecraft for an hour, you don't need to panic that it's giving them ADHD.
So gaming is okay.
It might even be good for their executive function, their ability to focus on a goal. Watching a movie is probably fine too. It's benign.
But social media, that's the red zone.
That's the one you have to watch.
Yeah.
The most practical advice is to delay access to it for as long as you possibly can. A 16-year-old brain is much more resilient to it than a 10-year-old brain is.
And it puts a lot of pressure on tech companies to actually enforce their own age rules. A simple checkbox is clearly not working.
Not at all.
And honestly, for all of us adults listening, this applies to us too, right? If it hurts a kid's brain, it can't be great for ours either. I feel like I need to turn off my notifications now.
The mechanism of constant interruption is the same. You can't do deep, meaningful work if your phone is buzzing every 3 minutes.
Okay, so, quick recap. Video games get a pass, maybe even a thumbs up. TV is fine. Social media is the focus killer. And your genes won't save you.
That's a perfect summary.
Oh.
We need to see social media not just as fun, but as a specific kind of cognitive load. It's a deal we make. We get connection, but we pay for it with our attention.
It's a heavy price.
It is. And it leaves me with one last kind of provocative thought. If social media is training a generation to be inattentive, are we accidentally building a future where no one can think deeply anymore? Where solving complex problems becomes impossible?
And the flip side of that.
Yeah, and if gaming builds focus, should we be looking at gamifying education? Instead of making school more social, maybe we should be making it more like a video game. Clear goals, instant feedback, leveling up.
Whoa. Gamify school to save our collective attention span. That's a really wild thought. But looking at this data, maybe it's not so crazy. If we don't do something, the future might be kind of scary.
It's definitely something to think about.
For sure. All right, I'm going to go turn off my notifications. And maybe play some video games. Thanks for diving deep with us. Maybe I'll...
And that's a wrap on this episode of MedDecode. I really appreciate you joining me today. If something we talked about sparked your interest, or if there's a medical term that's been bugging you, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this, be a pal and share it with a friend. We'll catch you on the next one.